Greetings and salutations. You're listening to an episode of Mama Ruth's Ancestral Musings, a podcast about all things Blackness from an ancestral point of view. Notice I said all things Blackness. I think as of late, many of you will understand that I'm talking about hoodoo. Yes, I am talking about hoodoo, right? In a Facebook post I made recently, it was actually a rhyming post because I am not a poet. So it's not a poem, right? It's just a post that rhymes, all right? Spirit moved me to say some things and put them in a rhyme, so I did that. It's kind of Dr. Seussian, which is kind of funny. But anyway, the subject of it was addressing the cultural thieves of our tradition. Okay, I was inspired by a sister who engaged in her own battle of sorts in some funky Facebook group where, you know, they tried it. They tried it, you know, and she was doing them battles and some other sisters joined her in doing them battles. Now, you guys have heard me say in previous episodes, you know, push back, but don't let them rattle you, okay? If you engage with them in the form of advocating for your tradition, advocating for your ancestors, please don't let them upset you. Please don't let them anger you, okay? Because we can stand firm in our truth. And standing firm in our truth is a powerful thing. It's a beautiful thing, okay? And so anger need not accompany that. And frustration need not accompany that. Yes, it's a very frustrating thing because of what we are facing. And right now, in this task of reclaiming our ancestral ways and fortifying our ancestral ways, we are drawing lines in the sand, okay? Because the appropriators to hoodoo, they just want everybody, including you and me, to believe that it's all about the spells. I made a post earlier about how people have reached out to me about my podcast and said they were frustrated because I don't share spells. Ugh. We don't actually do spells, but okay, I get it. I know what they're talking about. I don't share tricks, right? Spiritual workings, not really. So they're frustrated because I don't do that, because so many other people are doing that online and on social media. And all that lets me know is that they've been listening to the wrong people about this black ass tradition. Okay? Because the appropriators and the outsiders to black culture, they are the ones that have reduced and diminished our cultural tradition to spells. Because spells require stuff, materials, right? Most times. So they can sell those things to you and me, right? And we can take our hard-earned black dollars and just throw them at them in exchange for some bullshit. And then walk away thinking, that's all hoodoo is. Well, I'm here to tell you, that ain't what hoodoo is. And I've touched on this in several other episodes of this podcast, but it bears repeating because it's still happening, okay? And as far as white folks and other non-black American people trying to, expand their fund of witchcraft information by embracing what they think is hoodoo, I really don't have a problem with that, because I know the power that fuels our spiritual work comes from our ancestors. And if you don't have those ancestors, you're just shit out of luck anyway. All right? But when we, the children of those ancestors, have this interfacing with white versions of our tradition, then they get tricked, they get deceived, and they get bamboozled and swayed into thinking, oh, it's just a magic tradition. It's just folk magic. And it's all about the things. It's all about the candles and the oils and the powders. And, and it's not. That's a small part of our tradition. Okay? And I hope that you really understand me when I say this, because I'm looking at this thing through history. I'm looking at it through the eyes of the ancestors. And without them, you really don't have anything. You don't. Hoodoo is our culture. It's our tradition. It's our spiritual walk. It's our religion. It's everything that makes us us. That's where the label kind of falls short, because we don't necessarily need to call everything hoodoo. I would prefer that we do, because it's part of the whole reclamation process. But a lot of practitioners of our tradition despise the label. So do we get mad at them for that? No, we just have to understand where they're coming from. But hoodoo has always been us. Once we can embrace that truth, then we can celebrate all the aspects of hoodoo, which is what? Blackness, y'all. Blackness. The things that are unique and observed within Black culture, all of that is hoodoo. All right? We've got to stop this othering shit that's happening. All right? Because white people are the dominant group of this society. So it's very easy for us as Black people to, be exposed to their perceptions of certain things and their disposition of, to certain things. And then without even thinking, we adopt their perception and then project it outward, into the public. And we have to stop doing that. Okay? We have to stop looking at them like they are the holders of everything that is right in this world, everything that is good, everything that is attractive, everything that's important, everything that's special. Why are we doing that when they turn around and they've been doing it to us and other people of color since the beginning of time? Think about that. This country was invaded by people from Britain, right? People from England, more specifically, and, to another extent, some from Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, okay? But overwhelmingly from England. So let's look at the British culture, okay? For those of you who have taken the time to understand the culture of the people that invaded this land and enslaved our African ancestors, what you will find is that they really don't have anything that is unique to them, okay, as a people. They have to take from other people. Look at fashion. If you look at British fashion throughout history, anything that looked good, they stole from the French. Now, here's something else. The French stole from the Middle Easterners, okay? They stole from the Turks. They stole from the Greeks. They stole from the Romans. Who stole from who? North Africans, okay? And who did they steal from? You understand? It's like a domino effect of people stealing other people's shit and, laying claim, and making it theirs, all right? So when people, try to exoticize something, it's already, if it's foreign, it has this mystery and it has this, it's better. Well, yeah, English people, because y'all is plain as fuck. All right. So you have to borrow and steal and appropriate from other cultures so that you are less bland. You are a little bit more interesting. Same thing has happened over the past few decades with African practices in general. All right? Because what they have is sterile, it's bland, it doesn't do anything. All right? You want to make up religion and honor, your fashion gods and goddesses. I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, that's a human endeavor since the beginning of time. So I'm not mad at Wicca. I'm not mad at white people who practice Wicca. That's for them. Okay? It's an alternative religion because Christianity, and Judaism and Catholicism didn't do it for them. They didn't resonate with it. So they had to do something that they felt they could resonate with. And I think it's great, even though the history of Wicca was debunked in the 90s by British scholars, it doesn't matter, okay? Because all religions are made of man, right? So who cares if they, the gardeners and whoever made up their shit? It doesn't really matter, all right? But when people go to that religion looking for power, especially magical power, and they find that it's not there because the history, again, since it is crafted from the imagination of a bunch of horny old white men, now they feel like, oh, where is my power? How can I call myself a witch and I can't make shit move? So what did they do? Many of them started flocking to African-based systems. Why? Because the natural African has what they call magical power. Africans don't look at it that way. Not the pre-colonial ones, okay? The ones that were just living the way they were living, the way their ancestors have been living for thousands of years. So, for the African, things that the white man would say defy the laws of empirical science was just normal. And not even for Africans. I remember as a kid, my dad telling me that a lot of the things that people said were miraculous about Jesus were regular, everyday practices and occurrences by the Indian gurus and swamis. Because, if you don't know, my father was from India. Okay, he immigrated here in the 50s. So, levitation, walking on water, being able to lie on beds of nails and, stick sharp objects in the body and not bleed and not hurt, walking over fire, walking over coals, just all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, that was just regular stuff. Now, was some of it the result of maybe a charlatan, and some trickery? In some cases, yes, especially in the larger city centers where you have a lot of tourists who have money, right? But in many cases, especially in the smaller, less traveled villages, like the one my father was from, these are people who were masters at a certain level of spiritual alignment and attainment, okay? And they developed the ability to do these things that defy the laws of empirical science. And again, it wasn't seen as anything special. Everybody is kind of used to it. It's normal, as well as their own system of what the Western mind would call magic, or a spiritual possession or anything like that, okay? Because in conversations I had with my older half-sister, the things that she described in our father's village, the approaches to them, she sounded like she was describing a Haitian voodoo or African voodoo situation. It was very similar. And so it's not seen as anything like woo, 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 witchcraft and spells and yada, yada, ooh. No, okay? It's just people's normal expression of their relationship to their ancestors and their relationship to the divine forces of nature, okay? No hoopla, just regular life, all right? Something can move on its own, We've all seen, the videos of that kind of phenomena from different parts of West Africa, notably Ghana and Benin, Togo. And if you haven't seen them, make it your business to go on YouTube and see, actual video footage of these kinds of phenomena taking place. It's a wonder to see. And we're from the same people that engage in those kinds of activities regularly. Now, of course, again, it's, much of that was lost over here, but not really. If you go back and look at the ex-slave narratives, you will see references made to witnessing similar phenomena. Okay? So we have to stop othering our disposition when it comes to what the Western eyes or Western mind wants to call, quote, magic or supernatural phenomena or paranormal phenomena or, spirit possession and yada, yada, yada. We can't do that, okay? We really need to stop using white people's lenses and disposition and attitude toward African things. It just doesn't work, you guys. Okay? It doesn't work. And what's interesting about this is that it's very contradictory. All right, because the Western world really wants to disempower our Blackness, right? But at the same time, elevate it, honor it, participate in it, commodify it, utilize it. I was just watching a commercial yesterday for an internet-based TV platform, an alternative to cable and satellite called Sling. And in the commercial, they kept using the word ting, T-I-N-G. Okay? And most of you might be familiar with people who are West Indian or Jamaican or Caribbean saying ting when they are saying thing, T-H-I-N-G. Okay, and people from India, we do the same thing, right? We sometimes say ting instead of thing. I know my father did. So I like to say ting, and I will often write it, in some posts or tweets or whatever, right? We don't fuck with them ting, Oh, check out this ting, hoodoo ting, black them ting, whatever. It's just homage to our people here who are Gullah Geechee, our diaspora family, y'all get it. But to see them using this, because I think we only started using it on social media like over the past couple of years, I would say, maybe a little bit longer. But to see them co-opt that word for their little funky ass commercial, that's just an example of how they view our culture as valuable. But when it comes to Black people, right, the purveyors and the originators and the original bearers of said culture, we ain't shit. Okay? And we see this over and over, and it's not even confined to this here country. We see it from people abroad too. Okay? They love to follow our style. They love our music. They love our dance. They want to wear their hair like we do. But they will not hesitate to dog us out when they have an opportunity to do so. Okay? Now, this isn't everybody. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to paint everybody in the continent or the diaspora with the broad brush, but I have seen enough of this to know that it happens. All right? So, look, no more of that shit. Okay? It's 2020. It's the beginning of a new decade. So all that bullshit that we, had to deal with and suffer through and, get us all riled up and angry to the point where, we're now, just so upset and we can't do anything. It's just, no. Well, it's time to start being comfortable with our truth. Okay? And never mind what the people say. Never mind what the people do. Because us standing firm in our cultural and historical truth is enough. It might not feel like it because of the things that we constantly get bombarded with, right? But I promise you that a day is coming where the respect that has been owed to us as a people will be given. I'm already seeing this happening, but it's happening in smaller ways. It's just a matter of time before everybody understands that we are a force to reckon with. And all of the disenfranchisement, all of the racism, the prejudice, the discrimination, all of that is going to cease. All right? Not totally, but we're going to see a lessened experience of that happening because Black people are waking up. Okay, the people who used to be ashamed to be Black, in the larger scale of things, that generation has died out. Okay, what we are seeing are younger people who still express a sentiment of anti-Blackness. It's just so fucking insidious that you wouldn't see it at first. Okay, you wouldn't readily see it at first. You might think, oh, that's interesting that they have that point of view. Okay, but I'm telling you, anti-Blackness has to die. I am so ready to write its obituary. It's got to go, y'all. It's got to go. And the best way to kill it is to start empowering yourselves through your Blackness. I'm not talking about just through magic and supernatural power and all like that. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Absolutely. I think if more of us have been doing these things over time, we wouldn't have been as dogged out as we were as a people. Okay? But it's just a part of our greatness. It's just a part of our majesty. It's just a part of all the things, all right? So what I'm saying is there's going to come a time where the blatant ripping off of our culture will cease because the respect of our people will be there. It will be evident, and people will know better. They'll know better, okay? They'll understand the power of being invited. They'll understand why you must ask and get permission before you go and do a thing. Okay? Because a lot of times when we see things put out like in commercials and advertisements, fashion, music, TV shows, etc., you'll see them using our shit, but it's not to benefit us. What we have learned in a lot of cases is that a lot of these ad agencies and show producers, fashion houses, design labels and whatever, they don't have anybody of our culture working with them. Okay? And so a lot of times what they do comes off as offensive and racist. And sometimes I think that shit is intentional anyway. All right? But this mass consumption of Black culture without having any, benefit. We don't benefit when they do this. We don't benefit at all. Because if we benefited, then why is the sentiment about Black people still so hateful throughout the West and other places? Okay? Why is that the default stance when someone from Africa or India or the Middle East or other parts of Asia, why is it the default stance when they come to the United States or when they go to other parts of Western Europe is to be anti-Black? Because they want to assimilate. They want to fit in. You see? And growing up around some Indian people outside of my family, I remember I remember the attitudes towards my mother and myself through my father's Indian acquaintances. Okay? I remember that shit. It still exists in my family today. Okay? But what I'm loving is more people are speaking out about that. There's an Indian lady I follow on Twitter. Her name escapes me right now. I know it when I see it, but I just can't pronounce it. But she speaks on this all the time. And I recently saw an article that I shared on my page, where another young lady was speaking about engaging in white supremacist rhetoric and acts without even thinking against Black people and other people of color here in the United States. So people are waking up all across the board. But what is the point of being awakened if there's no action behind it? Okay? Because a lot of the things that I talk about, people don't even see it. They don't even live it. They don't even realize that it's happening. Again, this goes back to the insidious nature of Yurugu. Okay? This goes back to the craftiness of white supremacy. And so when we see them doing performative Blackness, some folks will look at it like, oh my God, they love us. And they think those are our friends. They think that those are our allies. They think those are the people who are going to vouch for us when the shit pops off and hits the goddamn fan. I'm sorry, but that is not true. I have already seen how white folks will stick together when things divide our community against folks that look like them. Case in point, police brutality. Okay, for a minute on my Facebook in particular, I had a lot of friends on Facebook who were part of the white spiritual community. I shouldn't say that. They were white people who were members of the African spiritual community. Let's say that. That's what it was. Okay. When Mike Brown was murdered in Ferguson, the things and the attitudes that I saw displayed by these white people who, again, got their little funky initiations into Haitian voodoo, into Palo, into Candomblé, Oshalkumi, whatever. And then a lot of them are trying to claim Hoodoo too. Now I'm starting to see this pervasive sentiment of anti-Blackness. Okay? And it was just like, wait a minute. You guys are supposed to be them different kind of motherfuckers. But now I see you following along with the wider white racist anti-Black sentiment that you often see in those kinds of things. So that just let me know right there, as John Henry Clark said, we have no friends. All right? So please stop taking they're emulating us as some form of love for us, because the love ain't there, y'all. It isn't. Believe me when I tell you this. Because if the love was truly there, then why would we still be having the conditions that we have in this world? Why? The blatant disrespect for our lives. The laws put on books that basically end up fucking us, like redlining. Why is it that the house that I own right now, if this same house was sitting in another neighborhood 20 miles from me, the value would be 10 times greater? I've seen a couple of studies about this, about how the powers that be intentionally devalue Black property. So much so that they have to actually manufacture or incite violent crime in those communities to justify the lower value of those communities. And I am still to this day trying to find some sort of action that pushes back against this practice. Okay? I mean, what does it mean to be able to tell my children, to have to tell my children, you know, there are houses like ours in other neighborhoods that are millions of dollars, and then they look at, the value of our house, like, well, why isn't our house $1 million? Now I have to explain to them because we're black. We're black. Okay, access to resources. Everybody wants to say location, location, location when you talk about real estate. And there's just this lock and step acceptance that wherever black people are, we automatically devalue. It's automatically, quote, bad, sketchy, the hood, the ghetto, it's dangerous, all the criminal activity, all that bullshit. Let me tell you something. It's a motherfucking lie. Okay? I live in a mostly black community on the south side of Chicago. I've been all through this community, mainly thanks to my work with New Era Chicago, a community organization. And we meet professional people on our rounds through the community, hard-working, tax-paying citizens. Okay, yeah, we see the young wayward people, that like to represent for their block and like to get into it with the folks representing on the other block, but we are there to let them know you don't own none of this shit. Okay? So instead of trying to whoop down your brother, why don't you start loving and protecting your brother, because we have a bigger enemy here. And he likes to sit back and watch you people destroy yourselves. That right there gets blown out of proportion. Yes, it happens, but it doesn't happen at the level that the media and others would like you to believe. I live here. I know the truth. And so do all my neighbors. Okay? But our truth gets lost when media, police, politicians, churches, white folks, and everybody that don't live around here get to dictate what they believe is the truth. Okay? When our property values go low, crime goes up, terrorism by police goes up, and now black people want to move. But who's moving in? Nobody wants to talk about that, you see? Nobody wants to talk about the white folks who come in and start scooping up these, undervalued properties and then rehabbing them and then flipping them and making bank. Nobody wants to talk about that part. Nobody wants to talk about who that new Starbucks and Whole Foods that they built down yonder, who is that for exactly? Okay? Everybody wants to think, oh, it was for us black folks. Okay, let's see in another couple of years who it's really for. Okay? So all of these things are connected, you guys. Start paying attention, please, and see how the practice of undermining our power while trying to have access to it, partake in it, commodify it, and consume it. Just see how that, does it make sense? Is it even logical? Okay. The white lady who owns the Lucky Mojo online and mortar store in California, Kat Ironwood, once told me that she was doing what she was doing to give back to the black community, to give something back to us that she believed was lost. Hoodoo was never lost on the black community. But again, if you're coming from stuff that can be sold, like oils and powders and crystals and whatever the fuck, yeah, a lot of our people never really fuck with that shit anyway. Okay, and we were still practicing what they called magic. You feel me? So she feels like she's trying to give something back. But my whole thing was this. If you're trying to give something back, you don't put a price tag on it. You don't put a price tag on something that is given. You put a price tag on something that you're selling. But too many wayward Negroes look at that rhetoric and think, oh, well, that's so important. That's so cool of her. Oh my goodness. She really does love us. No, the fuck she don't. Because if she did, she would in fact be giving. She should be honored to give. But even if she gave it, I'm here to tell you, that shit ain't worth shit no way. If you really know the truth, the hoodoo truth, it's all a bunch of bullshit anyway. I mean, come on. The lady got her start selling fake high John roots and to this day still does. So what do we really need from her? What do we need from her? Not a goddamn thing. Okay? Nothing. But unfortunately, because so many black people are waking up, and if they go on the Google and type in hoodoo, she's the first motherfucker they see. Okay? So that's why people like myself and my sisters and brothers in the Walking the Takanga Collective, that's why we exist. To steer you guys away from the enemy and give you the truth. Now, I'm not telling anybody you gotta hate white people or you gotta... No. I don't hate white people. Please don't get it twisted. I don't hate them. I hate their evil. I hate their ways. I hate what they have done and what they do. I hate just how they are. And yes, I have met plenty of white people who are very different from that, okay? And they've let me know how the things I say and speak on have allowed them to really take a better look at themselves and their families and their communities and their people. To come to grips with some truth, that takes courage. And I am proud to call them among my friends. But they are very rare birds, people. Very rare birds. Because even these so-called allies that people have, they think they're friends just because they share the same spiritual tradition. I've seen so much anti-Blackness coming from them, it's not even true. And I'm just like, where are they Negro counterparts at checking them on this shit? Nobody says anything. Nobody wants to call them out. Well, not everybody. I have seen some people call them out in recent times, and that's great. But for the most part, they get a free pass to run totally anti-black all up and down and up through that shit. Okay, but black people are waking up. And they're calling the shit out. And they're taking firm positions in defense of and advocacy for their ancestors. And it's a beautiful thing to see when that happens. So, no, don't get frustrated with me because I'm not on here sharing spells. Don't get frustrated with me that I'm not on here going into detail about how to do certain rituals or how to do certain works or how to put certain things together for a certain outcome. First of all, I will never disrespect my mother like that, and I would never disrespect my ancestors like that. Okay? Because if you're frustrated that I'm not doing those things, all that does is tell me that you are looking to the wrong people for some truth about who you are. And you're allowing this reductive outsider notion of tricks and spells to equate to what is our beautiful hoodoo. That's on you, baby. That is on you. Okay? So, black people who want to go along with that bullshit, you go head on. But there will be a reckoning because your ancestors are tired. They're tired of you not knowing their truth. All right? I'd rather you get it for themselves and yourself and then turn around and give your ancestors an apology rather than you keep pissing your ancestors off and they have to make you feel where the hell they coming from. Because, baby, that's not going to be pretty, nor is it going to be very comfortable for you. All right? But, that's just the way it is. And I've already seen that come to pass with some folks. And it's unfortunate, but it was necessary. Just don't let that be you. Understand that everything I say with love for my people. Black people. Black American people, more specifically. And those of us who are descendants of enslaved Africans of this land. Okay? I love all African people, and I consider myself politically to be a Pan-Africanist. But I can be a Pan-Africanist and still put my fellow Black Americans first. All right? I hope that makes sense to some of you. If you don't understand where I'm coming from, please reach out. You can send me an email, contact@mamaru.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter, where I am at MamaruHH. The same goes for Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook, where I am Mina Wilson. That's my gov name, Mina Wilson. You can find me there as well. All right? So I welcome all of your feedback, responses, questions, and concerns, and input about anything that I've said, especially those of you who disagree, and want to curse me out to other people, and then they have to come back and tell me what the fuck you really said. Don't do that. If you have an issue with anything I say, bring it straight to me. I ain't gonna bite you. I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right? So on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you guys. For those of you who are participating in Black History Month, shout out to all of you. I feel that when we honor our ancestors and our people every day, February just gives us an opportunity to be extra with the shit. So you go for it. Be real Black and be real beautiful, honey. And as always, I'm going to wish you love, peace, and powerful juju.